Hotep family, how y'all doing? The HUSIA. We're gonna break it down, reflections and clarity. For everyone that has been able to view the videos, I appreciate you. Salutes to you. I love you. I love the comments. I love the likes. Share. I love that. That is important. But most importantly, I need you all to subscribe. Subscribing will allow me to know my audience and what I'm going to be able to put up. Now, right now, this will be episode 4. I'm going to be reading from the book of AMENONOPE. Pardon me if I have not been able to say that as fluently, so I'm going to try it again. The book of AMENONOPE. And I'm going to read in verse 4. Follow me. Now, the unrestrained man or woman in the temple is like a tree grown in unfertile ground. Its leaves wither quickly and its unripe fruit falls to the earth. It reaches its end in the lumberyard, or it floats far from its place. Its burial cloth becomes, or rather its burial cloth becomes a flame of fire. But the self-mastered man or woman sets himself or herself apart. He or she is like a tree grown in fertile ground. It grows green and doubles its yield of fruit. It has its place in the eyes of its owner. Its fruit is sweet. Its shade is pleasant. Its end is reached in the garden. Let me read it again. You know, I like to read them twice. Now, the unrestrained man or woman in the temple is like a tree grown in unfertile ground. Its leaves wither quickly, and its unripe fruit falls to the earth. It reaches its end in the lumberyard, or it is floated far from its place. Its burial cloth becomes a flame of fire. But the self-mastered man or woman sets himself or herself apart. He or she is like a tree grown in fertile ground. It grows green and doubles its yield of fruit. It has its place in the eyes of its owner. Its fruit is sweet. Its shade is pleasant. Its end is reached in the garden. Now, this right here, encompassing, is all about discipline. Learning how to control one's actions, control one's behavior, control one's thinking. It's so eloquently put, and a lot of times I think we play around with how important it is to be disciplined, to be a disciplined individual, to have a disciplined behavior, to have a disciplined character. It says, now the unrestrained man or woman, and I didn't even have to, make it unisex. I didn't have to let it be. It was pretty much written here or translated this way or retranslated that way. I'm gonna go ahead. My phone ringing, so I gotta hurry up and pick up the pace. It says the unrestrained man or woman in the temple is like a tree grown in unfertile ground. So when you are not in control of who you are, the allegory or the lesson here is that you're a tree. We all talk about the tree and the fruit that we bear with things that come off of us, right? Well, if you are unrestrained and anything that you kind of find yourself planted in, it doesn't produce anything. It doesn't give the right things that is needed in order to produce a healthy human being. When you are a disciplined individual, you adhere to an order, you adhere to a structure, you adhere to a code of ethics and morals. This person is shown as a restrained person, a person that is understanding that there's things that they have to adhere to and listen to. But the unrestrained person just feel like I can do what I want to do. Who are you to check me? Whatever. Well, what is to be produced out of that will not be great at all. I mean, it goes into, it says its leaves wither quickly. So that leaves, you can translate leaves to be your looks and your appearance. You start to look old. You start to look beat up. You don't look like, and the things that you have just are not appealing to people. It more or less offends people, your presence and your demeanor, because you're an unrestrained person. So a person that just feels like they can do what they got, whatever they want to do, they ball their face up. They don't have the pleasant atmosphere that people want to exchange and deal with them. It says its unripe fruit falls to the ground. These are your ideas, your goals, your aspirations, the things that you aim for. They don't go anywhere. They fall right to the ground, and they never really become something of great substance. It reaches its end in the lumberyard, or is floated far from its place. and its burial cloth becomes a flame of fire. I mean, like, everything that you attempt to do, it just burns up in your face. It never goes the way you want every single time, because you do not understand the importance of being disciplined. The importance of saying, before I do something or before I act, these are the protocols or measures that I will go through before doing whatever. And they could be personal, or they could be organizational, they could be community, they could be anything. But you have to be a person that is of great discipline. And that's something that you got to cultivate and you work on. And you know that if you're not working on it, then anything that you attempt to try to produce just outside of that and thinking that's not important. Oh man, I go to bed when I want to go, I eat when I want to eat, I shower when I want to shower, I pray when I want to pray, I do all these things when I feel like doing it. These are a person that just clearly is loose on their discipline. They just open to just anything happening. But it says the self-mastered man and woman sets himself or herself apart. Self-mastery, if I'm saying that right, you know, I be fumbling my words. But being able to be in control of yourself, your emotions, your responses, how you feel about things or what things are said to you, that is a beautiful thing to see. Now, that takes time. That takes work. That's not something that you are going to be able to just grab just out of the air. No, that's something that you have to continue to cultivate, something you have to work on, because as it said, you set yourself apart. When you see a person that is just on their game and they working on their discipline and they're working on it to the point where they become masters of it, masters of how they respond to situations, what do they do, how do they act out on things, that's important, you know, and they always stand out and they become unique. It says, he or she is like a tree grown in fertile ground. It goes back, everything that you're a part of is producing great things. It grows green leaves and doubles its yield. You know, so the ideas that you do, some of the things that you birth, it becomes multiplied. You know, the people around you and the energy that vibrates off of you is just far-reaching. Because when you become disciplined and you become a person that understands, this is how I should be, this is the example of what is important, because nature, you know, the universe has showed that we are in a disciplined universe. I know we've been taught so long and so often that chaos created all of this, but it was no chaos, it was order. And that order had a certain discipline to it. It had a certain structure to it. And so we have to understand that if we want the great things that we want, we have to be disciplined people. We have to be disciplined individuals. And I'm going to keep driving that point home. That's not something that's just easily obtained. I'm not just, as I'm speaking it's something that you got to constantly endeavor daily to work on. You know, it's something that you got to really make a lifestyle of, that you're working on developing yourself and gaining more and more control of your emotions, your mindset, your mental state, your spiritual cultivation, your peer-to-peer interactions, your social relations. You're making sure that all of these things are seen from a disciplined standpoint, that you're on a disciplined, what's the word I want to say? A disciplined perspective. Now, what is discipline and what does that look like? Briefly, that's a person being able to, when you want to speak, you don't. You just like, you know what I mean? You take more time to listen with more effort and you really decide, I'm not going to speak as quick. Or a person that is, even if you eating, you know, run this test with yourself. It could be something that you really enjoying, but the quantity is pretty large. Well, a disciplined person enjoys just enough, but never goes to the point where they say, I gotta gorge, I gotta get more. And we see that when people, you know, even when they want to grab certain beverages, they can't just enjoy a small beverage. They gotta keep drinking more and more and, you know, pretty much overindulging. So a disciplined person is a person that does not overindulge. Really quick, its shade is pleasant and its end reaches in the end of the garden. Its fruit is sweet. All that you produce will be greatly received and greatly rewarded. And with that being said, God close out. Thank you all for your participation. These are the teachings of our ancestors. Marinate on them, reflect on them, move every day to endeavor daily to balance your scales. Hotep.